Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this month's UX Coffee Chat. We had some technical difficulties, but I'm glad you all are here. A quick introduction about me. My name is Kunal, and I'm a product designer currently working at Smartsheet, designing the future of how people organize their work and collaborate across their teams. Prior to this, I was at Georgia Tech, where I was pursuing a master's in HCI. And for those 2 years, I've worked with conversational AI to understand how it can be used to improve productivity. And today with us is a very special guest, an incredible designer, and a wonderful person, Deepti Wilson. Deepti is currently a senior product designer at Smartsheet, and along with this, she is also a lecturer at University of Michigan, where she teaches generative AI and its impact on business and society. She has also published award-winning paper on human AI collaboration, where she talks about the impact of using LLMs on students' performance. Deepti, it's a pleasure to have you as a guest today. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Kunal. I'm so excited to be here.
So to kick off this conversation, Deepti, I wanted to sort of start with something that I found very fascinating. AI in particular Gen AI, in recent years seem to have captured the imagination of billions, and it feels like we are all trying to make sense of this technology, what it is, what are its applications, in many ways, sort of mimicking the early days of the internet. Uh, there are also different perspectives that are being shared out about it. Some are more optimistic, while others are more dystopian. Um, some of them are referring to this technology as the most significant technological revolution in human history, whereas others are taking a more cautious approach. And to quote Yuval Noah Harari, the author of famous book *Sapiens*, he's referring to this technology as, and I quote, "end of human history, the end of period dominated by human beings." So we see sort of these polar opposite viewpoints for this technology. So in all of these perspectives and sort of opinions coming out around us, I'm curious, what is AI to you, and how do you understand it? What makes you most excited about it?
Oh my, Kunal, that was a very deep starting point. And I completely agree. The hype is so real right now. Everywhere, I don't think I see one piece of news that does not at least mention AI on a single day. Um, I think of it very similar to how you were mentioning early stages of the internet. It's like a lot of times we talk about AI as a technology or a tool. The way I think about AI is just that it's a new problem solving material. Like we had steel in the Industrial Revolution or internet in the beginning of the dot-com boom. And of course, like you mentioned, we have to be cautious. There will be terrible things that will happen. People will misuse it, abuse it, put garbage on top of it for everybody else to see. But there's also immense opportunities and possibilities about what we can do. So, as early adopters, at this point, we can't even be early adopters, but still, if we learn about it and know how to use it properly, we can use it to create new experiences, new scale and velocity of things that were just not possible before. So it is up to us to use this platform to create solutions that to problems that were just unsolved before or just took too long to solve. We can apply it in so many different real world problems to create systems that will answer questions, that will solve for things, that will um, uh, do things fast and generate flows, create outcomes that were just either not possible or took too long to happen. So that includes like summarizing, answering questions in natural language, understanding insights from all this gigantic amount of data that we've collected over our history keeping. It can give answers so fast. So to me, like following the fad is important, of course, if you're an investor and the way NVIDIA and your SMH ETFs are just changing how the market performs. It's also really important to stay true to the ground and look at opportunities that were not possible to solve before, but now they are. And how can we make that happen and be involved in the not just usage, but also development of this new technology? So I think it's good to have a split approach and be critical when we need to be critical, and be opportunistic when we need to move ourselves forward in our career, in our development, and just our life in general.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I totally agree, and I love how you put it. Like it's a new way to solve problems, a better way to solve problems, almost like a tool that has come to us to leverage. And I agree that I think we have to be cautious, but also opportunistic in terms of how we leverage it in our day-to-day lives. I definitely agree with the productivity part, um, and like it sort of having this ability, especially like to summarize and understand scientific literature and generate insights from that huge amount of data, which earlier used to be the manual effort. Someone had to sit and read those papers and take out those insights before they can start querying on that data. So definitely it's going to make things more productive, and make humans more productive, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in general. Um, Also, one of the things that I find very interesting about this is that it sort of feels like this revolution is happening in the entire world at the same time. So earlier, like in all of the other revolutions that have come together, they have always sort of started from one part in the world, and it took them a while to propagate to the other parts. um, but this one seems to just like sweep across the entire globe at the same time. And especially like the stat that came up, that the chat gpt became like the fastest growing app in like the entire history. Like it reached 1 million users in some 5 days, and before that it was instagram, which took around 2.5 months to reach
Mm-hmm.
that mark.
Oh, I
So.
completely agree. Like propagation all across the globe, which, if we think about it, is sitting on top of the internet. Which, like, we could be scared of internet, but that's what made all of this happen.
Mm-hmm,
Uh, Also, propagation across use cases and domains and industries. Like
mm-hmm,
Sam and I were just talking about how there are use cases in law, and I think there was another domain. So things that we learned from law can now be transferred and applied in like a healthcare domain,
mm-hmm,
and that parallelism was just not possible before, or took a lot of effort on our end to happen. So I completely agree with you about the propagation and just the cross-functional possibilities.
mm-hmm. Yeah, there was like this interesting stat that I read a few days back. I think it was a report published by a consulting firm, Gallup, which said that 99% of Americans have used AI in last 7 days, AI-enabled product in last seven
Mhm.
days, and it kind of blew my mind because, like, the AI seemed to have started just like a couple years back, and now everyone is using it, at least in the US. So
Mhm.
it's kind of staggering to see that. Um, I'm also sort of very fascinated by how people are using it. Like they're using it to draft emails, like write code, and from like writing code to like writing poems to like impress someone, to like drafting legal documents to emails. I'm curious, like with these many applications and apps, like what are some interesting ways that you are using AI nowadays?
Ooh. I think, yeah, I think every day we're using some form of AI or the other. In my job as a product designer, that the number one way I use it is as a UX researcher sidekick. I don't know about you, Kunal, but in my 10 years of career, the access to UX research has been just so difficult and long and laborious that we all want to do data-driven design decisions, right? And data-driven uh, uh, development. But we often are not able to do it, whether it is qualitative data or quantitative data. If you work with a UX researcher, it will take a lot of time because it's a person. They need a process. They will review their methodologies. They will do their interviews, surveys, synthesize all that work, and that is hard work. It is really hard, and
Mm.
it's really hard to get access to. Similar results from other companies that has already been done before. So a lot of time we are either reinventing the wheel, taking too long within those research pipelines. And for me, the biggest difference that I've seen is having a UX researcher on hand at all times. So what I mean by that is that I would ask it to give me existing principles that I can follow. For example, if I'm building a checkout workflow for an online jewelry company, right? I never have to start from scratch. I'm never staring at a blank canvas. I always have something to get started, which I also had before. Like we can still go and look up for similar things on Dribble, on your Marvin, and everywhere online. But now you can have pointed things. Like I want the best checkout experience that has ever been created, and I might not get the most accurate result, but I'll get something enough to get me started. Next up, I can ask about the principles that have been applied and which success criteria has been fulfilled using these principles. So now I have a clearer framework to get started. So I can have that help early on. Then I can get it to review from multiple perspectives, like my key stakeholders, like a product manager, like an engineer, to do some kind of feasibility checks, like a gut check. That before I even go to an engineer, I already kind of can predict or anticipate what they're going to say. So my key stakeholders, like my director of product management, how will he react to this design? Or the CEO who has these different perspectives, how will she react to this design?
Hmm.
That gives me access to so many different perspectives that I would just not have before. I will take too long or a little too many embarrassing moments to figure it out by myself, you know. So having those perspectives is so huge for me, because as much as we take pride in having the power of empathy and just always being able to see another person's perspective, it's really hard to do because we are still people. So having that extra perspective, even if it's fake, is so much more helpful. So I can get feedback from it from all these different perspectives. I can ask it to pretend to be a user and give perspective from there. So I already have a wealth of information while I'm in my different stages of development. That is huge for me, having a UX research partner and having all of my wonderful different stakeholders and user perspectives. That is huge for me. I think that is something that I would use for it over and over again. And another one that I use for it again is some kind of new tactical learning that I would do over time. For example, when we have a design and it's ready and we want people to say yes to it or agree with it and align, you all know that it's really hard for people to get aligned. And sometimes you would hear a roadblock that a lot of times I wouldn't know where to go from here. For example, I made this wonderful design and my PM partner is okay with it. But my engineering manager says that it's just not possible. So where do we go from here? Do I reduce the scope? Do I convince again the engineering manager or understand it better? So understanding those blockers is easier for me. Those technical challenges is easier for me. Even coming up with strategies to make people come on board more often is easier for me. So I think those two are what I use it the most for my UX research perspective and other perspectives, and also strategic behaviors on bringing people more on board. Previously, I would have to ask like a mentor or a coworker. I still have consulted you, but consulting AI as well, that has all this wealth of information of everything that people have published in the past, really helps me get going on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
Makes me.
that's so fascinating and so cool, um, and it's kind of interesting to see, and for people like who don't have context, like we like when in design when we are working with research, like at least in the company that we work for, they have like lots of documents with documented research, and so most of the times those documents are either hidden away in drive folders that we don't know about, or they are so long and sort of not well documented. So it's a manual labor to kind of go through each document and figure out like if a research or the insight that we are looking for has already been covered in the research. So I think this is a great sort of way to leverage the research. Like I also know that the UX research team is starting to build lots of AI agents, and they are sort of at least at an individual level starting to put together these documents in notebook LLM and starting to sort of get insights from the heap of documents that they have to sort through before. um, but I think this I actually find the other application that you mentioned much more fascinating, which is like having AI almost like a thinking partner, um, and it sometimes acts as a peer, sometimes acts as a mentor, sometimes it takes on a form of the CEO, this executive that you want to present your designs to or get feedback from. So it feels like that Pokemon. I don't know if you guys watched Pokemon, but there used to be a Pokemon called Ditto who would take form of any other Pokemon. So it feels like it's a very um, you're using it very flexibly to suit the the needs that you're looking to um, that you're looking to get information about. um,
100% with Notebook LM, it's it's just incredible what it can do. I most recently finished, I didn't finish, but my UX research partner finished a study with 13 participants.
mhm,
And usually it will take us so long to synthesize, right? And now Notebook LM is not extremely accurate, but you can get quick insights. You can find out themes. You can find out what customers were most upset about, or what were they most impressed by, and that's amazing. And we can ask pointed questions like which participant exactly said this, and what exactly did they say, and it's it's just incredible what it can return within almost no time.
mhm, mhm, totally. And I think it also, like, at least I know of one other designer who is also using it um, to act as a almost like a decision making tool, and sort of writing out feature requirement docs. So yeah, he mentioned to me that the way he goes about it is he sort of writes out his own ideas on a piece of paper and then uploads that
Oh,
in an AI chatbot, and sort of starts and kicks off a discussion around whether this feature makes sense, and whether that's something that we should build. So
mm.
almost like a decision maker, idea generator, generation tool. Um, and I also feel that, like, we are using it in the design currently, like to make decisions, to sort through research. But I I'm also sort of blown away with some of the applications that the uh, governments across the world are using it for. So I know, like, Ukraine, like last year, hired the very first AI generated spokesperson for their foreign ministry,
Oh,
and
wow.
they actually wanted it to put out the official statements from their foreign ministry.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big responsibility,
Yeah.
and giving it to an AI generated bot is quite extraordinary,
Hmm.
to be honest.
Oh my
um,
God, that is amazing.
yeah. Yeah. uh, I'm also curious, like, this Gen AI, like, wave that we are currently in. Um, you know, what sort of what according to you makes this different? Um, you know, is this same as some of the waves that we have seen before, like blockchain, AR, VR? Is it gonna subside according to you, or is it gonna is it here to stay?
Uh, I think blockchain and AR, VR are, I don't think they're even parallel examples. I think they are parallel examples in terms of hype and how much celebrities talk about it and how much companies invest in it, and how much hype there is about how it will change the world. But AI is fundamentally different for a couple of reasons. The number one reason is its wide application. Anybody can see the application within a couple of seconds. The time to value is so little that you cannot even compare it with something like AR, VR, or blockchain. Like AR, VR, and blockchain, both of them have their merits. Okay, I'm not saying they don't, but in order to get an AR, VR experience, you need a headset. You need to not have vertigo. The barrier to entry is so much higher, and the use cases are so little that AR, VR is not even comparable. Blockchain, I think again it has a lot of value in terms of you can prepare your ledger, you can have record keeping and finances. Sure, at some point it might affect people, but not as much as AI can. Like the way ChatGPT immediately would generate poems for you back in 2022, people could see that value within seconds. Everybody could experience it either for free or for very little money
Mm-hmm.
at in their phones, in their laptops that they already have. The
Mm-hmm.
platform to experience the value was just excuse me, just so easy that I don't even think it compares in terms of hype. Actually, hype maybe it compares, but in terms of usability, it doesn't even compare. So I think this is fundamentally different in the shape of basically the internet. The internet was not a fad. Steel and the industrial revolution was not a fad. It was here to stay. I do think that I don't know in its current shape or not, but AI is here to stay. It will change how we think about everyday production mechanisms, how we think about designs, development, creativity, editing. Literally, most of what we do, it will change it in one way or another, unless we're doing like really physical jobs. Even those could change because we have robotics, and they were just waiting for uh, cognition to come in and help with more decision makings in in uncertainty or making sense of a large amount of data or other things that do not make sense. Um, it will change everything for us. I think AI is definitely here to stay. And the other hypes in the past, some of them compare like the internet and the
Mhm.
steel, but others like AR, VR, and blockchain, I don't even think so. It's just so universally applicable. Whatever domain you work with, whatever domain you interact with, like you said, government, we can use it in healthcare, legal stuff. Literally all the websites we're using are in a rat race to infuse something in AI. Not all of them will be successful or even useful, but enough of them will be successful that will make this trend not just a trend, but a foundational item of development and workflows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that makes total sense, and you brought up a very good point about like the infrastructure being present for this particular technology, so and the access that people have to this technology. Um, I feel like the past revolutions that have happened, like maybe that's from command line to graphical user interface, um, from graphical user interface to smartphone touch screens to internet to social media. I feel like for all of these things to happen, like you needed an hardware device to access these technologies. Like you needed a smartphone, you needed a computer, and with a mouse and a pointer to start using the GUI for the first time when it came out. Um, and I think when sort of this technology has come in, like we already have that infrastructure in place, so people don't have to buy anything net new to start
Mhm.
accessing these. Like they already have what they need to access this technology, and it's just accelerating the adoption of this technology so fast. um, and I also agree with the point you made about like the everyone like talking about this, and this having the ability to change how we work, how we collaborate. um, and I also feel that there has been much more interest from the top tech firms
Mhm.
um, to invest in this technology. Like um, almost 70% of the CEOs today believe that AI can give them a competitive edge uh, if they integrate it into their product. So I just feel that people um, are more inclined towards investing in this, and the infrastructure is already present. So
Mhm.
the only thing you need is a application and a useful tool uh, to
True.
to make use of it.
I
Uh,
think everybody will do it. It's just a question of who will do it well. And those
mhm.
people or those organizations will get ahead in the race.
In the race, very true, very true. Um, cool. So I'll sort of ask one last question, and then we can open it up for everyone to ask your questions. Um, I'm just curious, like, with AI sort of going to stay here for long term. I think it's here for the long haul. How do you see the future? What impact will AI have on our day-to-day life? And is there something that we should be cautious about, like from a societal perspective, while trying to use this and figuring out this technology?
Oh, wow. Okay, I think in the future, I think there's a couple of aspects we can talk about. Well, first is the future with AI, I think, will be entirely determined by where our current areas of friction are. So, what are things that people spend a lot of effort in and do not apply too much creativity? So, a lot of repeated tasks. For
Mm-hmm.
example, we would have texts written in our large dashboards that we make in Figma, or renaming things, or documenting things, or that is one thing. What is repeated work that is boring and is not interesting and still requires human effort? That will be one thing that will change drastically because AI will take care of most of it, if not all. Then the other one is, what are some decisions that we are making in our development and in life with little to no data? I think now we have data and insights at our fingertips, and they will only get better from here. So those poorly made decisions will have just more information behind them. So we'll have more evidence to have a perspective or opinion. That is one thing that is kind of what I see the future will be in terms of our work and thinking. The other thing that I think we should be very careful about is just so much over dependency on insights, like whether you use your cloud or your chat gpt, or even whatever you use, they will tell you that, oh, this is not completely accurate and it might be wrong. But once we start relying on it as our sidekick or as our insight maker or decision maker, there could be a habit of relying on it too much, even when we know it can be wrong, it can hallucinate, it can be biased against specific people, specific situations, gender, color, all of that, because it has learned on things that is already existing, and already existing things have bias and incorrections in them. On top of that, there is a layer of what it can do in its own incorrectness and its own hallucinations. So there are multiple layers of wrongness, but all the answers that come out of all the generations that come out of AI, they look so convincingly confident that when we see more answers that seem right, especially about things that we don't know about, we develop a habit of thinking that it might be right more than it is. And it's becoming really blurry to understand the line about when should I do another check, because it's seeming convincing, it's very agreeing in its nature and its tone. So when do we even know when it's wrong? And then when it comes to companies being, this is about users, but when it comes to companies using, say, your OpenAI models or even your Google or AWS models, when it does make mistakes, like when it gives incorrect legal advice, for example, or the wrong healthcare advice, who exactly is held responsible is a big thing that we have to worry about as a society, because right now a lot of our order in the chaos is led by legalese, right? But because AI right now, at least in the United States, is so unregulated, we literally do not know who to hold accountable for. That's one of the reasons why autonomous driving has been around for a while, but we cannot make it completely legal. The onus is still on the driver to make sure that things go correctly. We can think about it like that. And the more and more we become hands off, the more we are at trouble, both as users as organizations and CEOs and everybody else. Because if we are the middle people using it or using another third party tool to build on top of, uh, we are at we are on the line to be responsible for mistakes and errors, and we just don't know when to do the checks. um, that is one thing. Other than that, I think learning will become more and more accessible. I, for example, I'm going to this poker tournament tonight, and I've never played poker before in my life. So in the past month, I've just been playing poker with ChatGPT. Now I know the rules and different strategies early on for a newbie like me. So learning new things is so much easier. That I'm very excited about how learning will change, how creativity will change, how our behaviors will change from so much of a creator, like creating emails, creating Figma links, creating websites, to actually becoming editors. So we're not creators anymore, we are actually editors, because somebody will create things for us. But now it's our job to make checks, make sure it's aligned with what we asked for, and not just a random thing that it said was interesting. So our roles are going to change drastically. Similarly, what we get paid for is going to change drastically. It will not just be about making pixels, but making sound pixels and being able to know when the pixels have been generated incorrectly and correct them then. And so our roles will change dramatically. I think when it comes to uh, being marketable or employable, the middle of the curve is going to see a lot of different drastic changes in what they can offer versus what is now needed. So we need to keep on reskilling ourselves and just go with the flow, keep our eyes and ears open. I think it will be fine.
Yeah, I love that how you ended it on like, okay, let's have an open mind and figure this thing out, and sort of keep learning and updating ourselves on how to use this technology. And the I think it's I think you make a very valid point about like the the ability of this technology to spread misinformation. And I think one cool example, like very recent one, was like when I was actually like about this session when I was trying to look for quotes from like different CEOs and people that have said things about AI, it was very easy for me to sort of fall into that trap of like, I was getting suggested some quotes and some source links during my search, but it turns out that even if there is a source that is matched with a particular quote, when I actually clicked on it to verify, it was a quote from a completely different person. And so, for something as simple as this, like AI can hallucinate. So, I think it's very important for us to fact check and say things mindfully and be responsible editors of,
Hmm.
of the future.
I completely agree. Oh, wow. Yes.
Cool. Awesome. That's the question that I had for us. But I think I would love to sort of open it up to everyone in the audience. Like, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Maybe like also turn on your video. It would be great to see you guys. And if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand and ask.
That's okay. While you're thinking about any question, I want to share a story about now that I was talking about checking what AI returns, like you mentioned, Kunal, about the wrong answer. The One of the classes that I teach at University of Michigan is data visualization. So that's people would have their Python notebooks and they would use code to create visualizations, which is charts, your bar chart, pie chart, and so on. What I was seeing in the past few semesters was that students were generating their entire codes, entire assignments using Gen AI, and on the one hand, it's like I don't know if they're learning, as an instructor, I don't know if they're
Hmm.
learning.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, I'm not here to police people from not using the internet or not using AI. So that was a very interesting, uh, problem to be in. And in that case, what I asked students to do was to freely use AI,
Hmm.
completely freely use it.
Hmm.
But when I know they have used it and they have to justify all the mistakes that it made, find out the mistakes and correct them in their assignments. And that was an eye opener because a lot of times especially when students are newer, right, or you're new to anything, it's really hard to spot the problems. And that was an eye-opening situation for me to be in. So yeah, I
Hmm.
completely agree with you that fact checking is so important. But all these wrong answers are so packed in such pretty packages that it's really hard to tell, especially once we start getting used to getting answers
Yes.
quickly.
Very true. Very true. And it also sort of makes me wonder like how people are evaluated in, for example, job roles and positions. Like the companies, they want people not to use an AI tool to, for example, appear in a coding interview and like trying to solve questions um, with AI tools like ChatGPT. um, but I wonder that when someone is actually working in a day-to-day scenario at a company, like there is no one telling them or asking them not to use those tools. So
True.
why impose that restrictions in the interview process? uh, if someone can get it done with AI tool, I mean, that's a skill as well, I guess.
True.
But yeah, someone can like disagree with this. That's what
Completely.
I mean. So yeah, has there been any like
Hey,
interesting, sorry, go ahead, Tony.
yeah, hi. Thanks for having this chat. It's super interesting. I know you mentioned about Notebook LLM. I was wondering, is that the like a tool that's available to everybody, or it's specific to like, or it's an internal tool?
It's a tool by Google, so you can
Okay.
go try it out. I think for the first few times it is for free. If you can get any student discounts, that could be possible. But also, if you ask your company and if they have like a Google workspace situation set up, they might also get a discounted price on it.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. And also, I was wondering, like, yeah, I mean, you talked about like being able to use uh, the AI tools as your research partners or a thinking partner. But I mean, yeah, that is something doable when you have an internal AI available to you. Because otherwise, you do expose your like ideas or the features which has not been released yet to the world. So like, how do you balance those things? I was just wondering about that. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. That's such a great thing to think about because exposing our business strategy to basically the world, basically putting it out on the internet is wild. Um, there's also tools that have been approved for usage. For example, internally, we are allowed to use Gemini, which is the Google platform that we pay for. In that, we have an agreement with Gemini that they will not retain any of the information that we put into Gemini, so we can upload full documents, our full even designs or patterns that we're thinking about. What I have experienced though is that Gemini is so much worse than ChatGPT. So sometimes when I'm still not convinced with Gemini's ideas or feedback or their take as a particular persona, I do take it back to ChatGPT. We also have guidelines on how we can and should use other tools as well. It's not like we are restricted from using them, but we're supposed to remove all the identifiable data. So we cannot expose the specific names or plans or budgets or things that are very specific to our company and confidential, but we can do generic things like I mentioned about checkout flows. I can still ask about it for what are the best checkout mechanisms, what are the tools employed. This is how I'm planning to think about it, and this is the roadblocks that I'm coming into. So it just takes a lot more input in the prompting, but it can be de-identifiable and still be useful. I personally have gotten a lot more information by giving less confidential or specific information or uploading full items into I get more from ChatGPT by removing all that information than I do by uploading everything into Gemini and still asking it for information. So that is actually very interesting and speaks volumes about which tool is ahead in the game. Similarly, Notebook LM does fantastic job, and again, it will not upload our data into their intelligence or models. That's just an agreement we have by paying for it. So usually, when we get free insights and giving free information, we're also giving away free data. So you're absolutely correct in thinking that. I am shocked to hear that there are so many people who do not think about it. So I'm very, very happy to hear that you are thinking along those lines.
Cool. Yeah, well, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, that is what kind of restricts us to, like, for me at least, to be using those kind of tools. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like as you mentioned, it could be used for like more generic thing. Like you don't give out everything, but you know, like like yeah, not being able to identify all of it and like have a generic questions, then it might be helpful. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Hey,
Hi, Anuj.
yeah, have you explored any of so apart from the research part, have you explored any of the AI tools for the other parts of your design process? For example, generating UI and all. I mean, there are certain AI tools which have been, like I've been listening to their names, but I haven't explored yet.
Hmm.
So
Uh,
have you
I,
checked them out?
I'll let Kunal answer first and then I will go. That's okay.
Uh, I'm sorry, Anuj, I missed your question. Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, apart from the research phase, have you
Mm-hmm.
explored any AI tools for the other parts of your design process? For example, for the information architecture or any of the other stuff.
Uh, every like here and there, I would say. I think research is the main one, but I also have like used it to like make simple decisions. Like if I'm conflicted between when to use a model and when to use a panel, I would put like a generic
Mm.
prompt in ChatGPT and see if it can like give
Yeah,
me answers about like some logical reasoning behind what I'm trying to do, and what which pattern makes more sense there. So more like a thinking partner, sometimes to generate more ideas, like this is the
Hmm.
problem and do you have any ideas. Yeah.
but my question was more about,
Mm-hmm.
there are some specific AI tools popping up for specifically for other phases of your design process, like
Mm-hmm.
some tools which can connect with Figma directly. And I don't know, there are a few. I don't know how good they are, but yeah. Do you know anything about those?
I would chime in to say that Figma's AI tool. They just launched it, I think, like last week that it became generally available. It was okay. I did not find too much value in Figma's itself AI tools, but there are a lot of plugins on Figma that I have
Yeah.
used. For example, for generating prototype connections, for generating copy. Like we have some tables that we make on large scale, and I recently made one, and I had to make like 10 screens. Each had like 100 pieces of information, and I input what kind of information I want to be filled in each one of those. It was not very accurate, but a lot better than what I would have done by myself to think, oh, now what would I put in price or in text or in description. So that did a phenomenal job. In animation and motion, I did not find too much help. There was another specking tool that I found on Figma, not plugin, but what's it, widget, that was doing a lot of great specking. It would create entire sections about this is the main section, then this is the motion section, then this is the accessibility section. That was extremely helpful. There was another one that I found online, which I didn't find very useful, but I think the idea was really good. The implementation wasn't good, but the idea was accessibility checks during dev tools on Figma. So when engineers are implementing from the spec from a dev ready session to actually converting it to say React Native, it was doing those accessibility checks in real time. The implementation was not very good. So I keep on trying them. I think there's a long way to go before I personally have seen any significant changes in other phases than research.
Yeah, plus
Cool.
one to specking. I've been using it myself to like create specs for engineers. There are like there is another one that I have tried out. It's called Spec UI, and you just like click a screen and it creates beautiful specs for you, which is super fast. I don't know if it's AI driven or not, but it definitely helps to accelerate the process.
Okay, I have another thing to ask, if I
Oh,
may.
is that a
Okay.
widget? Sorry, the spec what did you say? Spec UI?
It's a plugin, yes.
It's a plugin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about no code generations, and now that it is getting easier? So, do you think like it is going to pick up, and would designers be expected to be able to generate code, especially in smaller design teams? This happen. Also, there are plugins again for Figma, which I think Lovable is one of those, and
Mm-hmm.
right, there
Mm-hmm.
are a few.
Um, I think no code is extremely fascinating and can make things faster, especially for small teams, like you mentioned. So maybe a small startup has just one designer and they're also the UX engineer. I don't think they can assume the role of full blown developers end to end,
Yeah,
just because if there is a mistake that the no code issue makes, it's really hard for a person who doesn't have a solid background to find that mistake and
yeah,
fix it. But there is a lot that can be done using no code methods. For example, if you have a design system that you develop as a sole designer in the company, you can start creating code based components in your storybook. By you basically can do it. I think for designers, I don't expect them to become developers for one very simple reason, and I don't know if you'll agree, but how often is it your job to just create designs, and how often is it about making other people understand this is what the design is, or even get them to tell you what exactly their business goals are, or how do we see the approach to go? I think that is the main portion, and then converting those thoughts into designs is the main portion. I think that will
mhm,
continue to be our main forte. But yeah, having those no understanding how to operate those low or no code tools to create components and do the UX engineer kind of work, I think that will start being
yeah,
included in our toolbox, I suppose.
yeah. So I personally have never liked coding. I've tried a bit of it, so I hope it doesn't pick up. But
I
yeah,
don't think I would be worried. Like I was a software engineer. I also am with you. I don't think coding is really my cup of tea. So I hope it doesn't, but I really believe that won't be it. In fact, it's the engineers who should be worried about upskilling and finding, doing merge request well when another engineer creates a code and tries to merge into the main code. Those are like tough jobs. Those are editor level jobs. I think engineers should be more
mhm,
worried about what the ground level work that AI is going to cover. We should just be more aware about how to use those free tools and who to interact with when something goes wrong. I think. I don't know. Don't hold me
Yeah.
responsible if it happens.
Uh,
Cool.
no, I agree.
Thank you.
Like, I think we are still far away from designers being replaced, or designers sort of taking on a role of developer. It may happen if you
Mhm.
are in a startup. You might be asked like, "Hey, you can also like use this AI tool and try to code if you already know how to code." So that might happen, but I don't think it's, at least at this point, it's not like designers will have to code, or at least that's
Yeah.
not the expectation. Um, I think it's more about engineering to upskill and make their work more faster. Um, and then like I think creating components like Deepti mentioned, like individual components. I think that is something that we can use the like generative AI for, but for more complex tasks, I feel like unless your entire code stack is written in an AI facilitated tool, it's hard for that tool to understand all the different APIs that you're using and the different libraries that you're using, and then sort of integrate it with all of those based on like different tokens that you have for your product. So I think it will take some
Yeah.
Even
time,
the
but
knowledge is not even available because even
mm-hmm.
engineers are not great at documenting. So a lot of
Exactly.
information actually just lives in individuals' heads. So where
Mm-hmm.
will AI pull that information from when they don't have access to it? Like how often does the engineering effort just stops because one of the engineers is on leave or has left the company and they knew everything? But yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be worried anytime soon.
Yeah, I hope maintaining these libraries become better with some usage of AI. You know, I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
anyone is working on that.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense. Cool. I guess we have time for one last question, and then we can close it off. Does anyone want to like ask anything before we close out?
I will add my LinkedIn over here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. And if you want to stay connected, I would love to. And in the future, if you're looking for a job referral or just to chat, feel free to hit me up. I'd be very happy to talk to you. And thank you so much for being here.
Cool. Awesome. Yes. Definitely connect with Deepti. She's a wonderful designer and a joy to collaborate with. And someone that I get to learn every day from. And so definitely recommend uh, scheduling more time if you guys need more guidance, need feedback, or just want to chat. Um,
Oh, thank you so much, Kunal. This is
yeah.
so helpful. I feel the same way. I learned every day from you, and I'm just so happy to have this chat. Good use of a Saturday.
Yes. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. Well,
Thank you guys. Yeah, it was
yes.
fun
Yes.
and insightful.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining and sticking till the last.
Mm. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
See ya.